Hi, welcome to week 4 of our Bible and book study using Brene Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart. We've been looking at her grounded theory, which is found in the back of the book, on cultivating meaningful connection. And I just want to read her definition of connection, because that's what we're working on. Connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. And Brene says that, and we all know, that connection is something that we all crave and we all deserve. Our passage for this time is the threefold cord in the Bible, where it says, a threefold cord is not easily broken. And so when we connect, we go from this to this, and we build a cord which is not easily broken. We have to work at our relationships, because a cord, even a tightly twisted cord, can be broken, but it isn't easily broken if we work on it. So we're working on our connections, our ability to connect with other people. And Brene makes this, it seems simple the way she says it, but there are 3 skill sets that she talks about that make making connections easier. One is that we practice our grounded confidence. We develop grounded confidence, which is just that I am me and you are you, and we can take our masks off. The second skill set is the practicing the courage to walk alongside another person. And this is really just talking about that I have my story, you have your story, and we can have empathy and compassion for one another, but I'm not walking in your shoes. I can't fix this for you. I can't make it different. You can't fix it for me. But what we can do is walk together and refuse to leave each other's sides. And in that space in between, I call it sacred space. That's where God is. So the scripture that goes with that is, where 2 or more are gathered, there I will be. So we're walking together, knowing that we're holding sacred space for God. And together we heal. And we connect, and we learn about each other, and we're strengthened because of our relationship. The skill set that I want to talk about today is skill set number 3. It's the last skill set that she talks about, and it is practicing story stewardship. And basically what story stewardship is just understanding that stories are powerful things. Your story is your story. And when you share your story, you're sharing more than a story. You're sharing a piece of yourself. This is what happened to me, and it matters to me. That's why I want to tell you about it. Children have no problem with this. Children are the best. They get hurt, or they see an exciting show on television, and they tell you all about it. And they don't care if it's a good time for you to listen or a bad time for you to listen. They're going to tell you about what's happened. I've hurt myself. I need to tell you how I cut myself right now, and I need a Band-Aid. Or I watched this show. It was so funny. I'm going to tell you every minute of my cartoon. Kids are so good at storytelling and understanding that they have a story to tell and people should listen to it. As adults, we get self-conscious about it, and sometimes we think our stories are boring, or that nobody cares about our stories, and that's just not true. It is through stories that we share our true selves, and through stories that we allow other people to get to know us. So practicing story stewardship is honoring story as sacred. My story is sacred. Your story is sacred. And when I listen to your story, or you listen to my story, we're saying to one another, you matter. I see you, I value you, and I care about you. And that's what connection is. It's valuing another person. So listening to people's stories is essential. Sharing your story is essential if you want to connect with other people. She talks about far enemies and near enemies. The near enemy these are the things that undermine somebody's story. The near enemy is pretending that you're interested, but you're not really, because your boredom shows through. So the way we combat that is to stay curious. So if somebody's telling you their story, and you say, what was that like? Wow, how did that feel? Where were you? Where were your parents? So you ask probing questions and you stay engaged with them. As soon as you get bored or you pretend to like it, they can tell. Another enemy of, another thing that undermines or is an enemy of practicing story stewardship is the narrative takeover. So this is where somebody says, I'm going through a divorce, and then you say, I went through a divorce, and then you vomit your divorce story all over them, and they don't have time to tell you their story. So you aren't listening at that point, you're vomiting your story on them. Or another narrative takeover is, we do this with our children all the time. My teacher was mean to me today. And instead of asking questions like, well, what happened? And how did you respond? But we say, I'm going to call your teacher right now and I'm going to tell her to back off. That's narrative takeover. That's where somebody's trying to tell their story, but they don't get to because we get so excited that we take the story over. And the other one is narrative tap out, which is where they're talking and we don't believe them. So we do things like, really? Did that really happen? That's narrative tap out. It's like, or you look at your watch and you just give them the impression like, I don't have time for this. And so we can undermine the sacredness of their story pretty easily. And sometimes our busyness gets in the way and we do it unintentionally. So the more we can put all of our stuff aside and listen to somebody and be present with somebody, the better story stewards we will be. The far enemy of someone sharing their story, really hurting somebody, is when we show indifference or we diminish their story. So they say, I was really hurt, and then we say, well, I think that's silly. I don't think you should be hurt about that. Or what's another example? Like they're trying to tell you something and you say, well, you know what, you're 16 years old, everybody falls in love and gets broken up with, and we take away the value of their story, we diminish it. The other thing is we can really damage somebody if they're telling us something really personal and we make light of it. Stories are really closely connected with our souls, and we can damage somebody's soul if we don't listen to them. So if you're in a situation where someone tells you their story, the greatest gift you can give them is to listen, to be present, and really honor their story. The Bible story that I think connects with this is where Jesus is in the home of Mary and Martha. And Martha, this is the one where Martha's off like cooking dinner and Mary is sitting at Jesus's feet. It's a beautiful example of setting aside everything that needs to be done. Martha gets mad at Mary and she says, Mary, why don't you come in the kitchen and help me? There's so much to get done. But at that moment, Mary says, there's nothing more important than this man's story. I'm listening to his story. And when someone is really trying to tell you their story, there's no better gift you can give them than to set aside everything and listen. That's practicing story stewardship. And that's when things get real. So do you see how this is all coming together? We're going to be authentic in ourselves. We're going to practice grounded confidence. We're going to say to people, I know you've been through something. I'm going to journey with you. I'm on this journey with you. You're on this journey with me. And so we walk together. And then it gets really personal when we start telling our stories. If someone trusts you with a story, congratulations. They're very personal things. And we are blessed to be those who get to hear their story. And if you trust somebody enough to share your story with them, then you have found the connection that you're looking for. So understanding the importance of story stewardship is part of the connecting that we're trying to do. So that's the third part and the final part of Brené's model. And I hope that you do have those people in your life that you can share your story with. And if you don't, reach out, because we'd love to help you find somebody that's looking for somebody to connect with. We all deserve to tell our story and be heard. And those people are out there. You can find them. That's what this connecting Bible study and book study is all about. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week for part 5 and the final part of our Bible book study, using Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart. Thank you for listening today. I'll see you soon.